Come on. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of What in the History podcast. Today, we are talking Cyrus the Great. I am Dan Brady. With me, as always, is my great co-host, Mr. Johnny Smith. Johnny, how are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm good. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing all right. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Joey Purse. Joey, how are you?
I'm okay, just existing.
Oh, well, that's a good existence.
Yeah, that's what's up. Dan, while you get us set up, I'm going to talk to Joey a little bit.
All right.
Joey, you want to tell us a little bit, give an intro on who you are, what you do a little bit?
Just a normal guy, just trying to find work during a lockdown.
Joe, what platforms are you on? Promote yourself here.
I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
All under the same name?
Yeah, Joey Purse.
Okay. You know much about Cyrus the Great?
I do not.
Neither do I, but that's the beauty of this podcast and my role in it. Dan loves to learn and he loves to teach people stuff, and I am here just to be I would have said a fat sponge, but it's turning into a semi-fat sponge. How's quarantine been treating you, Joe?
It's been okay.
Okay.
It's just everyday life without a job. That's it.
I dig it. Does it allow you to be more creative then? I don't know how your time's spent.
Yes and no. It allows me to be more creative, but because it allows me to be more creative more often, I also get burnt out a lot easier.
Okay. Have you found it easy to write during this time?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about.
For stand-up or for skits, any type of comedy.
Skits, no. Stand-up. I mean, yeah, for skits, yes. Stand-up, no. Like when I took the 2-month break, I haven't written anything for 2 months. It's like I kind of forgot how to write. In a way.
Understandable.
I forgot how to write in a way. Stand-up hasn't been as easy to write about. The skits are easy. Because the skits,
I dig it.
I mean,
we're all going through our own creative struggles.
I know I share memes against TikTok on Facebook and stuff, but your stuff is some of the most original videos I see, and I always enjoy it when you post them.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So I take it we're back and good to go, Dan?
We are live on Periscope. I sent you guys the Facebook Live link. Anybody watching, I can see the comments, but I am reading on a script. Carter says we are on Periscope. So everybody who's watching us for the first time, this is a history podcast. Today, we are going to be learning about the King of Kings, Cyrus. He's one of the greatest leaders that the world has ever known. He was the one in whose footsteps other empire builders would follow, like Alexander the Great, the countless Roman emperors and Ottoman sultans. It was the mighty shoes of Cyrus that they all attempted to fill. More than merely just a successful conqueror, Cyrus the Great is known for being a great liberator. He is known for his conquest. Unlike many other powerful rulers, Cyrus was very merciful. He didn't seek to oppress his subjects or their way of life. He is one of the first people that fought for equality, even back in 580 BC or so. He sought to keep intact a degree of freedom in his kingdoms and autonomy. In which regions he conquered. So he is a very interesting person, but unfortunately, a lot of the history that we know about him is written by the victors. So the bulk of the documented narrative of Cyrus the Great's life comes from an ancient historian, Euripides. He was.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
He was born in. Hey, I've spent the last hour listening to how these names are pronounced, so hopefully I don't mess them up. The name of Cyrus itself comes from a Latin derivative, which in turn was taken from the Greek kairos. The original Persian name was pronounced something like Curus. It basically means King of Kings, but we now know him as Cyrus the Great. You two were talking.
Was he born? Was he born with the name Cyrus?
It's up to interpretations. It is more or less Curus, but that was thousands and thousands of years ago, and now we know him as Cyrus.
Okay.
So you two were talking. You have no idea about this subject, right? Go ahead, Joey.
Are Cyrus and Xerxes the same person?
No, Xerxes comes later. Basically, Cyrus created the empire that Xerxes would later control. So this is the base work for all of this.
Interesting.
Are you guys ready to learn more?
Yeah, we're ready to rock and roll.
All right. Let me get everything pulled up here. So basically, Cyrus's early life isn't well known. All of it is just basically hearsay. It's all mythological because back in those times, history is told by storytellers, and of course, most truths don't make good stories. So his birth.
I think we're both.
Little... Go ahead.
I think we're both kind of wondering when you say those times, what's the time frame exactly, and where are we actually located?
He was born anywhere from 600 BC to 580 BCE. No one really knows for sure because, of course, they didn't keep a lot of data. But we're in the Middle East. We're in Syria, Iran area, Mesopotamia. Basically, this is the last legs of the Mesopotamian Empire. So Middle East.
Okay.
Let's see. Getting Periscope up in case we have any comments over there.
Was Cyrus beefed
All
with
right.
Greece too?
Cyrus beefed with everybody. Basically, he extended his empire from the Arabic Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. He conquered a lot of kingdoms.
Oh, jeez.
So, like I said, he set the base work for a lot of the conquerors that we know now. But he is said to be born sometime between, like I said, 600 to 580 BCE in the kingdom of Persia, which is modern day Iran. Cyrus was the inheritor and the beneficiary of the Achaemenid dynasty, which dominated the region starting in the 7th century BCE. The founder of the Achaemenids was the ancient ruler Achaemenes, and it was his line of descendants who were then called the Achaemenids. Of these descendants, Cyrus the Great, also known as Cyrus II, was the son of Cambyses I, and I killed that pronunciation, the ruler of Persia, who in turn was the son of Cyrus I.
Okay.
Cyrus is the Great mother, Mandane, was the daughter of the powerful king of Media. Now, the Median Empire, basically, a couple years before this, about 100 years, couple hundred years, the Persians and the Medians coexisted. And, of course, men get greedy, they fought, and Persia became the lesser kingdom, and the Median Empire became great. So the Medians are the oppressors, and Persians are the subordinates. Cyrus's grandfather was a man named Astyages. It was his grandfather who wielded the real power since Media, which constituted a region encompassing modern-day northwestern Iran, northern Iraq, and part of southeastern Turkey. he was the authority that reigned supreme over the Persian Empire, which at the time comprised only the southeastern region of modern-day Iran. He was born into this dynastic family. Cyrus had a turbulent childhood from beginning. Now, before I talk about this, remember, this probably isn't what happened at all. And Babyface Assassin Podcast is blowing me up on Instagram right now. I forgot to exit out of that.
Oh, there's Carter Levi. Hey, I don't know where that's coming from, but that's cool.
Hey, I think
Oh wow,
Periscope.
that's cool. Yeah, it's. Let's see. This is the first time we're running on Periscope, so Carter, the Periscope comments are coming right up onto the screen. That is cool.
That is, yeah.
So, StreamYard, they're not sponsored, but this app is pretty cool. Like I said, we're on Twitch right now, Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube, I believe.
Nice.
Oh, stepping up to the big leagues, eh?
Yeah. Anybody watching right now have any questions? I know there's some people on here that isn't the person I'm dating. No? Nobody? Okay. So, like I said, this story is kind of outrageous. But some of it's true, some of it probably isn't. Like I said, this was told by a storyteller. According to Herodotus, Cyrus the Great was still in his mother's womb when his grandfather had this dream that is basically his daughter womb filled with water, and it flooded the Median Empire, which basically his soothsayers had interpreted this dream as the kid that was going to pop out was going to take over the kingdom.
So this is like building the legend of him,
Yeah.
his lore, how he became. Okay. Because I don't have a way of knowing, but I doubt that happened.
So basically, because of this, Astyages married his daughter off to Cambyses in the Persian Empire. Like I said, it was a weak empire, so he just thought that he was going to move the kid away. But closer to the kid's birth, to Cyrus's birth, he had another dream that was interpreted that the kid was going to overthrow Astyages. So he decided that Cyrus had to die, even though he was an infant.
Kill the baby.
So,
to me, this sounds, like I said, it sounds like a biblical story almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's very reminiscent of putting Moses in the basket or what have you.
Yeah. This is a time period where dreams were interpreted as truths, and people launched wars off of it. So Astyages decided that Cyrus had to die. So
it's different because today they launch wars off of lies.
Right.
I'm sorry. I just had to get that in there.
So Astyages gave the kid newly born to his right-hand man, Harpagus. But Harpagus couldn't kill a kid. So he gave it to a stable hand. Let me pull up the stable hand's name because it is very hard to pronounce.
Let me take this moment to ask Joey a question. Joey, so we're part of Spare Tire together.
Mm-hmm.
I need you as my right-hand man.
Mm-hmm.
I call you and I say, Joeiditis, I need you to kill my infant. You gonna ride out for me, or what you gonna do?
I ain't doing it.
Oh man.
I'm not doing it. I no.
Oh man, call the handmaiden.
This ain't BC. You didn't set a time frame. You set it as today. Maybe.
Yes, today. Hey, babies, they can cause trouble. Hey, look, we'll call you Plan C.
I think I'll probably ask you, why can't you kill it?
Well, I can't. Look, I already got enough blood on my hands. You guys already know that.
More?
No, I can't do it anymore. I got too much. I need see that's the point of having a right hand man. And the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing, so I'm compartmentalizing. You don't know how many babies I got killed. You might have got off easy, bro. I might have asked you to kill one baby. You don't know how many dudes you don't know how many times I hit up Marcus for babies. Me and Dan got a bond. We didn't serve together. Something had to happen. I'm just saying.
Oh man. So we got 9 viewers right now on Periscope.
Oh, what's up, people?
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
I'm gonna mess up this name, but Eli Radovich said,
I know who that guy is.
He said, "Wow, he ain't writing for you, apparently."
Hey, my man Eli knows. That's my homie. Shout out to Eli.
Hey, man, I ain't gonna kill a baby, but I kick it.
Well, hey, depending on how hard you kick it, you know what? We don't need to get canceled off of this, brother.
Fuck them kids.
Oh, so
yo, you guys know. Oh, that's off subject. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you guys I almost got canceled by the rap community earlier this week, and it was a terrible feeling. They were calling me names.
For what?
Because I said a rapper who got locked up 2 years ago was irrelevant, and his whole fan base came for me. Kodak Black.
Oh. Hey, you know what? I was never a fan of his, and he always came across as an idiot to me.
Yeah, I think he is one too, but it's just all I said was he was irrelevant because he hasn't dropped a record in 2 years, and they're like, he's not. Someone actually said he's not irrelevant. He's in jail. What does that make him irrelevant?
You say that about what's his name, Bobby Schmurder? He's
been irrelevant too.
Oh,
but I didn't.
You better watch. You might look the other way and get a hat to the face.
Carter said,
"Look at that white guy. I cross genres." What'd she say? What'd he say?
Kevin Gates for life.
Kevin Gates for. I'm riding with Kevin Gates.
Oh, fuck with Kevin Gates.
Eli said, "I'll kill any baby for you, Johnny boy."
That's love right there. That's love y'all don't even know about.
So before we get completely derailed, Harpagus gave the newborn baby to a man named Mithridates, who was just a lowly stable hand.
It really upsets me how nobody's named like Frank or John.
I don't think those kind of names existed back in the days.
It's like nobody was named Pat. What the fuck?
So basically, this guy Mithridates was told to kill this baby. So he took the baby home, only to find out that his wife had just given birth to a stillborn child. So they pulled the old switcheroo, and Mithridates had basically passed off the stillborn child as Cyrus. So they kept Cyrus as their own. So Cyrus spent his childhood with this man who had shown him mercy and kept his true identity hidden to the world. So basically, a couple years go by. Not a lot is known about their early childhood, again, because he was living with a lowly family. Right around when Cyrus was 10.
This sounds like Killmonger now.
Basically. So basically, when Cyrus was 10, he became king of the local kids. They were just playing a game, and Cyrus appointed himself as king of the kids. They had like a court and everything. And then one day, this one local boy whose name I can't find, which is probably something with like 37 vowels.
Michelob Ultritis.
Yes. He didn't believe that Cyrus was the king of the kids. So Cyrus ordered this kid beaten. But the boy's father went to King Astyages, who again is Cyrus's grandfather, and said, "Hey, this kid is over here. You got to do something about this." So when they actually brought Cyrus into the court, everybody realized that he looked almost exactly like Astyages. So Mithridates was interrogated, and they found out that basically what had happened, that Harpagus had given the kid to Mithridates and so on and so forth. So
imagine how long that interrogation was with all them fucking words.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were long-winded people.
Well, basically, they had threatened him with physical violence, and he's like, yeah, this is what happened. Which is very understandable.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I share a different stance. I won't rat. You can beat shit out of me if you want.
Right. But this is back in the day when they used to put people in a steel bowl and then set the bowl on fire. So
hey man, you're living that life. You're living that criminal life. You got to know there's going to be like spikes and lava going through your guts one day.
So basically, Astyages didn't punish Cyrus because he had figured, since Cyrus appointed himself the king of the kids, the prophecy was fulfilled. So
Dan,
Cyrus
I'm a little confused on this whole king of the kids thing. Because at first it sounds like some, recess game, but then when you talk about it, it sounds like it had like huge implications across the lands. Like he's king of all kids. Like what the hell is actually going on here?
It was basically like a recess game, or like imaginary, like cop and robbers, essentially. But Cyrus had talked all these kids into defending him and stuff like that. Like they held a court. He tried people or tried other kids, stuff like that. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. So yeah, he sounds like a little nut job. How old is he at this time?
About 10.
Oh.
So basically, Cyrus was sent to live with Cambyses and his mother again in Persia. He got to grow up as royalty now, but Mithridates got let off easy. Nothing happened to him. But Harpagus, because he was Astyages' right-hand man, he got punished. And now this is still, I can't tell you if this is actually what happened, but the events that take place later in the story suggest that this actually happened. So Harpagus had a boy about 13 years old, and he told Harpagus that he wanted his son to become Cyrus's mentor. So, hey, bring him to the palace. So later that day, he threw this big banquet. Basically, Harpagus was the center of attention, had a big feast. He was honored.
I think I see where this is going.
The meat was really good.
Yep,
so
I'm calling it.
Astyages had said, hey, how did you like the food? What did you think of the meat? It is very special. We got it just for you.
He pulled a Cartman.
So when Harpagus was like, oh, it was great, servants brought out Harpagus' son, hands, head, and feet on a platter, and was basically like, hey, you just ate this.
Yep, I saw that coming.
Which, if that's true, that makes me wonder how good, yes, we're going to talk about this, how good human meat must be. Like, this guy was eating it like, this is the greatest stuff I've ever had.
I've heard good things.
I mean, I would try it if it was somebody I didn't know. You okay, Joey?
I want to have a career one day, so I'm going to say I have no interest in trying human meat.
I'm sure at some point I'll say something that'll get me ruined later on. I'm just
No, I've heard all good things about human meat. They said it's I believe they said it was textured kind of like pork.
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense since anatomically
We have
they're
similar.
closest to.
No disrespect, but you would want to eat somebody like the three of us. You know, a little bit of marble in there. You know, a little bit of flavor. Although I would probably be disgusting from the things I put in my body. I probably
Yeah.
have I have a smoky taste.
Like venison, you can taste the difference and where the deer came from. So
Yeah,
I would
I
think
always say you could tell if the deer was in love or not by how they taste.
also if an animal dies in fear, that affects the taste of the meat too.
Makes it
Really?
delicious.
Never knew that.
Makes it delicious,
Yeah.
Joe. That's why I take all my cows through haunted houses.
Oh, so Cyrus starts to grow up in royalty. He grows up in the Persian kingdom with his father and his mother. Much of what is written about Cyrus's early childhood is so intertwined with myth and legend, like as we can see here. But
The Persian Empire he grew up in, was that a life of opulence?
What does that mean?
Was it a very lavish and luxurious life?
Basically, 2 years after Cyrus was reunited with his parents in Persia, the 12-year-old prince made a trip to the court of his grandfather Astyages in Media. Here he became a court favorite and was greatly endeared himself to his grandfather, the same grandfather who had ordered his death a decade earlier. So no one is sure how long he lived here, but he at least lived a few years of his life next to his grandfather.
Okay.
So around 559 BCE, Cyrus was placed upon the throne in Persia, even though his father had not yet passed away.
Why
Even
was that
so,
done?
Cyrus would not be. I really couldn't figure out why, but I think it was something basically came from his grandfather.
Oh,
He just, because he came kind of close, which I think was just kind of the plan of Cyrus. He's very, very brilliant military leader.
king of the kids usually are.
Right. So Cyrus would not be completely an autonomous ruler for some time. Like he wouldn't actually rule Persia, but he was still king. He would have to follow the whims of his Median overlord and grandfather. So again, the Persian Empire was basically controlled by the Median Empire. Much of Cyrus's early rule lies in obscurity because of the many contradictory accounts in existence. Like I said, most of this is all mythology and stuff like that. There is very little that has been found by archaeologists. But
he's the King Jong-il of Persia.
What we can deduce from the historical record is that Cyrus led some fairly pivotal military campaigns early in his reign. These campaigns, apparently much as the soothsayers had feared, would inevitably lead to the friction between Cyrus and the Astyages. So the confrontation between the two occurred is steeped in much mythology. One thing that is certain is that Cyrus did indeed lead an army against the Median Empire around 553 BCE. Since the official historical record is rather scant on the details of the subject, we have no choice but to draw upon, again, the words of the ancient historian Herodotus, who was notorious for taking actual events and interweaving them with embellishment and stuff like that. Because of
So
course,
he's a fucking liar.
yeah, but he's a
Fake news.
storyteller. It's the original CNN. So, right around this time, we're going to talk about Harpagus again, who's been lying in the wait, just kind of waiting for a way to get back for Astyages feeding him his son.
Yeah, I would imagine that's it's a meal that's going to stick with you.
Right. So Harpagus now, he reminded Cyrus of these horrible details and his efforts to encourage a rebellion against Astyages. And a letter to Cyrus, Harpagus made his intentions clear. He said, "You know what cruel punishments Astyages inflicted upon me for my humanity and saving you. The time has come now for retribution. From this time, the authority and dominions of Astyages may be yours." He would further suggest that if Cyrus organized a revolt, he would make sure that several members of Astyages' army would switch sides and swell Cyrus's ranks.
So they're just pretty much getting set up to take his grandfather down?
Right. Basically.
Okay. And there was no cordial way for him to do this. It had to be violent. Like, yes, I know no one wants to give up their reign, but if it was my grandfather, I would at least give him the option to live.
We'll get to that. Basically,
okay.
Astyages' punishment.
Okay, so why would you give your option to or your grandfather the option to live but not a baby?
Bro, because my grandfather, he had the opportunity to take my life. I don't fucking know, Joe. Why? I don't know. Because fuck them kids. That's why. You see me over here hitting this fucking dab pen, and you're gonna try and trip me up. Fuck the old man. He dies too. Then. God damn! I was trying to be clean. I went blue now. God damn it.
We will get to it, but basically, Astyages lives a life of servitude. He becomes. Hold
up, Dan. This motherfucker was silent for 15 minutes of you saying haggis and magus and sacralias and shit. And then, soon as I say something about giving some mercy, he's like, "Oh, but you still won't kill that baby." Fuck you, Joe.
But as I will cover, he basically makes his grandfather his servant. So for the rest of his life, his grandfather waits on him hand and feet. It's not like he gets off scotch-free. He essentially becomes a slave.
This is going to paint me in a bad light, but I like the pettiness. I do. I like the pettiness.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits. I like it. So this letter was delivered through stealth by way of sewing it up in the carcass of a rabbit. The hair was passed off as the fruits of a good hunt, and it was handed over to Cyrus, which, first off, this letter had to be very stinky. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Hold on. My dog is being a pain. Let me let Abby out of my room. Because apparently it's so terrible in here.
So the only person that's able to communicate with us right now, Joe, is Carter. And Carter hasn't said anything outside of "give me attention" and "so basically."
Well, he's making fun of, because for about 5 minutes there, I was just saying "so basically." Like, my messages, he's like, "I swear to God, if you say basically one more time." Oh. So, where were we?
We were basically talking about him getting ready to take over.
So basically,
Yeah.
this form of concealment seemed to serve its purpose, and the spies from Astyages' court were none the wiser to the ploy. After the animal had been duly dissected and the message disseminated, Cyrus decided quickly to take action. So there was tensions rising. It's not like Astyages was completely dumb to this idea.
Well,
He
how
had
old
known
is,
that there
is
was
Cyrus at this point?
a little over. Carter just
Has
said
he hit
Johnny
puberty?
Car Cleaner. Yeah, he's over 20. I think he's like,
Okay.
I would say 24 to 26 at this point.
Okay, so he's a grown man.
Yes, he
Okay,
has
that's what I
led
was
some
curious about.
successful campaigns. He has been battle tested. It's not like
Okay.
he's a complete virgin.
And I take it there's birds in the air singing about him wanting the throne.
Yes.
Now, where's his father at this point?
Not much is mentioned about him after Cyrus takes over the throne. So
Okay.
Cambyses the first, he didn't die yet, but for whatever reason, Cyrus was basically appointed by his grandfather because, again, his grandfather had control over both kingdoms.
Okay, so he's staying out of the power struggle at the moment.
Right. So he, as recommended by Harpagus, he raised a large army because, again, the people of Persia were very upset about being subordinate to the kingdom of Media and Astyages, and they prepared to march on Media and its capital city of, oh, I forgot to pronounce this word. And yeah, it's Ecbata and Ecbatana, according to, let's see.
There couldn't have been birds in the air about him wanting to take over because the government hadn't invented birds yet. That is so far is the best comment from Pootie Tang right there.
So Cyrus needed to ensure that his men would remain loyal to him during his uprising against the Median rule. He had his troops gather in the middle of a forest where he ordered them to chop down several trees to create a very large clearing. It is said by the end of the day, the men were starved and exhausted from heavy work to which they had been subjected. The day after the clearing was created, Cyrus supposedly had all manner of food and drink put in place for a great banquet right there on the forest floor. He then ordered his hungry men to devote the day to feasting and amusing themselves with tales and music. So basically, one day he made them work hard as hell. The next day, he basically told them to get drunk and eat.
That probably bred a lot of loyalty with them, too.
Yes.
Because not only did he treat them fairly, he gave them like a reward.
Mm-hmm. So after they had their fill, Cyrus reminded them of the previous day's hard labor and asked them which they would prefer, the day of working or the day of feasting. Of course, the troops all quickly declared that they preferred to get drunk and eat food because who wouldn't? So Cyrus told his men, if you follow me, you will enjoy ease, abundance, and luxury. If you refuse, you must remain where you are and toil as you do now and endure your present privations and hardships to the end of your days. So basically, either you're with me or you're against me. And if you're against me, you have no idea the hell that you are going to live.
I like it. I understand it.
Yeah. I mean,
I am not
like
I am not endorsing a political party when I say this, but when I take a walk in the neighborhood, there is a sign in the yard, and on it is a train. And on the side of the train, it's written Trump, and the sign reads, "Get on or get ran over." And I think that is like hilarious. I love the message behind that because, you know, in this world, it's not like that anymore. It's not if you're not with me, you're against me. It's sometimes people got their own shit to worry about.
So shortly after this,
Thanks, guys. Hot
Cyrus
takes.
is. Hey man, I'm looking at the time. I'm trying to get this moving. So shortly after this, Cyrus's men and Astyages' men meet in combat. As soon as the fighting began, the Medians fought vigorously against Cyrus's men, but it wasn't long before a large chunk of the troops deserted the main group and joined the forces with the army of Cyrus. So basically, what Harpagus had told Cyrus came true. If you join up against Astyages, I will turn most of the army against Astyages. So this apparently caused so much confusion in the ranks of those that remained loyal to Medea that their ability to do battle was severely disrupted. Many threw down their arms and fled as a result. Back in Ecbatana, meanwhile, Astyages was horrified to hear that the long-predicted prophecy of his grandson overthrowing him was coming true. Much as the alleged dream has foretold, Cyrus was rising up to conquer his grandfather's dominion.
He's living his destiny.
Soon enough, Cyrus took his victorious army and marched on the capital city itself. King Astyages was enraged to know that despite all of his efforts to basically disrupt this fate, doom and destruction was on its way. In an attempt to stave off the disaster he saw coming, he sent out a decree which called upon the drafting of every man capable of bearing arms in the Median army. This was a last-ditch effort, but Astyages put everything he had into cobbling together a large force of defenders. To boost morale, he even put himself at the head of the force. But even this massive army was no match for the determination of Cyrus and his loyal troops, and this last stand of Astyages proved a miserable failure. His army was decimated, and he was bested by his godson by 550 BCE. And this kind of goes towards like the best kind of leaders, like the guys that believe in their troops' morale, because Cyrus basically, got these guys drunk, fed them food, and they were so willing to die for Cyrus that they defeated a much larger army and helped him overthrow his grandfather.
So he manipulated.
Now, was it a...
Yeah. Well, he showed him compassion. Which, a lot of conquerors and stuff don't. But, it basically... his troops became so loyal to him. Theme. Go ahead.
The defeat, was it overwhelming?
Yes.
Huh. And it was a smaller army.
Yes. Well, like I said, a lot of the main forces of Astyages turned against him. So, like, even though it was a larger army, a lot of them deserted and went to the other side. So Astyages had to call upon any man that was capable of bearing a sword in combat. And of course, that usually doesn't work out well.
Sounds like the Civil War.
It sounds like the Russians during World War II when they lost like 12 million men because they made everybody fight.
Before we get back to it, I just have a question. Joe, are you having a stroke?
I'm okay. A-okay.
So Cyrus decided to build a great city on the site of his final battle against his grandfather. The construction of Persagadi, the first dynastic capital of the empire, would begin a few years later, around 546 BCE. According to Herodotus, Astyages was taken to Persia as a prisoner after his defeat. As he languished in his chains, he had to endure the taunts and mockery of his previous loyal underling Harpagus. So basically, Harpagus was just talking shit. Like, hey, you remember what you did to my son? Look what I did to your grandson. I made this happen.
Right
So
on.
the
I mean,
pettiness
that doesn't seem like that's good enough, though. Like, that wouldn't be good enough for me.
Well, he was kept in chains for the rest of his life. Despite Harpagus' ill treatment of Astyages, it is said that Cyrus generally treated him okay. But again, he was a prisoner, and he
Yeah.
was under like a mild source kind of house arrest. There is debate over how his grandfather died. Some sources saying that several years after his confinement, Cyrus had requested his guards bring Astyages to his home in Persia. He apparently wanted to visit and speak with his grandfather, but Astyages was never able to reach his destinations. His guards apparently had him travel through desolate wilderness in order to reach Cyrus, and along the way, the old man died from fatigue and exposure and hunger. Some have suggested that the entire visit was a ruse, and the real purpose of the journey was to expose the old man to the elements, and just such a hope that he might perish, thereby lifting the burden of taking care of him. So, yeah, he was treated okay by his grandson, but the guards just didn't want to care for him at all and basically let him die.
Not saying they were right, but it's understandable, especially so many years BC.
Cyrus ordered the guards under whose charge his grandfather had perished to be persecuted to utmost extent of his imperial lord. Although this could have been to deflect blame, perhaps Cyrus was infuriated by the negligence that had been demonstrated by his royal guard. So essentially, he wasn't mad that his grandfather had died. He was mad at the unprofessionalism of his men, because he expected the best.
Shit.
So what did he do to them then? Because you said persecution, but like, what was their trouble? What did they go through?
Basically, imprisonment. They didn't die or anything. I really can't find it, but I can tell you they didn't die. It was just basically imprisonment for a year or so, something like that.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
But it's also to kind of set an example too, but this whole incident here has been debated by historians over the years. No one really knows why, but I believe it's because they showed unprofessionalism.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So the people
he must have held everybody
Medea,
to a high standard.
Oh yeah. The people in Medea, they were fairly welcoming of the rule of Cyrus, since they viewed him as basically he wasn't as cutthroat. He was more merciful as his grandfather. Cyrus brought with him a new tolerance and freedom that the average citizen had never known. In this sense, most viewed him as a kind of divine liberator more than a conqueror, a pattern that would repeat itself several times over Cyrus's career. It was in the fashion of tolerance and welfare for the average man that Cyrus was able to seamlessly bring together the kingdoms of Medea and Persia. He is now the ruler of what would become known as the First Persian Empire, or the Achaemenid Empire. So, gonna wrap up part one here, the rise of Cyrus. Now we have the Achaemenid Empire. So basically, the reason why Cyrus was viewed as a liberator, yeah, I know I said it again. Carter, if you're still watching, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. But basically,
you can hate me
as
now, but I won't stop
liberator because he let people that were in power keep their power. He let
Okay.
people keep their businesses. He didn't slaughter. He didn't rape. He didn't pillage. He let everybody keep their language. He let everybody keep their gods, keep everything the way it was. He just asked for loyalty. Now, if you stepped out of line against him, you faced the utmost punishment, but he just basically let you be you.
Okay.
So, like, this is kind of where the legend of Cyrus grows. This is why Cyrus was able to grow such a large empire, because he didn't just set fire to everything and conquered. He let kingdoms keep their rule. He let the rulers of the cities within the Median Empire keep their thrones of power. Again,
So he wasn't
just
trying to
asked-
reinvent the wheel.
No, he was actually showing mercy to people that were never shown mercy before.
Okay.
That's why he's known as one of the first people that fought for basic human rights and stuff like that.
So
he kind of learned from his upbringing. Go ahead.
Did he just conquer places just to do it then? Like, just to see if he could?
Basically,
like I don't really want to I don't want to like kill you guys. I just wanted to see if I could beat you. Like, is that basically what he did?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, you'll see in part 2, he just continues to grow his empire, and he just kind of sets up this great dynasty for his kids. Like, his lineage will benefit from his conquest for years and years to come. The Persian Empire lasted like 3 or 4 centuries before Alexander the Great came in. Again, as we talked at the beginning, this is where Xerxes came from. So, like, he's just laying the groundwork essentially for a lasting empire. And for many, many years, this would become one of the biggest empires known to men.
Okay, so Cyrus is called the King of Kings.
Yes.
Right? So how is there the King of Kings if you have a God King? Because didn't Xerxes call himself the God King?
But Xerxes was years and years after Cyrus was alive. So, like, Cyrus was called the King of Kings because he let all the other kings kind of still, yeah.
So he was like the Jesus of them.
Different eras.
In a way. Yeah. It's a terrible analogy, but
Xerxes was LeBron, and what's his name was Jordan.
Cyrus. Yeah.
Cyrus was Jordan.
Well, it sounds like it's more so flip flop if you're going by the style of play. That's off subject. I don't.
Yeah, that was really off time. No, it's an interesting story, though. I'm curious to see how he takes his rule and reign and where he goes with it.
Like, kind of what we did with the Emmett Till episodes. Want to break this up into parts because I can go on and on. You can just ask Johnny. Like, our Jack Kirby episode turned into 3 hours. If you can't tell, I do a lot of research and I do a lot of details for this. But I wanted to set up part 1 just basically as his rise to power. Part 2, we're going to get into like who he married, what other kingdoms he conquered and stuff like that, and the everlasting effects of his empire.
That's I'm looking forward to that. That sounds really fascinating because he had to do some crazy stuff or make big impacts for us to still be talking about him.
Right.
Oh yeah. Like I said, he set the footwork for other emperors and conquerors later down the road. He was the first guy that basically went, you know that place over there? I fucking want that place.
I say that, but I never get it.
But for everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. If you're on Periscope, please follow Twitch. Please follow Facebook. What in the History Pod. Johnny, where can they find you on social media?
Check me out at facebook.com/tunacanjohn, or you can check me out at the Inquisitive Minds podcast. That's on all streaming platforms, or you can go to our website, inquisitiveminds.com. It's spelled a little bit differently, INQUIZATIVE minds.com.
Joey, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Joey Purse.
All right. And you can find me, DB Comedy 814, or again, What in the History Pod on both Facebook and Instagram, What in the History Pod on YouTube, Twitch, Periscope. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to us talk about this, because I know I had fun. Probably be doing this again Saturday or Sunday night. What's up, Joey?
On part 2, are we going to learn more about the wars?
Yes.
Yeah,
you want to learn more about like how they fought and stuff like that?
Yeah.
This is the carrots and steamed vegetables of the plate, and the next episode will be the meat.
Yes, basically. I just wanted to get to where
like,
we can start talking about all this.
I got a lot of questions, but like about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Write it down.
Yeah, this is just laying the foundation, letting people know kind of who he is, what he's about, a little bit like that. Before we get into, okay, now this person is destroying this or this person is invading this, we know who's doing the invading.
But all right, guys, for What in the History podcast, thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed part 1. We'll be back either Saturday or Sunday, depending on how much more I get done. Everybody have a good night. I hope you learned a little. Thank you for tuning in.
Have a good night, everybody.
Well, oh my God.
Yeah, we're still live, brother.
Yeah, I know. This is what happened last time. It just basically said there's no connection.
I was glad you didn't like exhale a deep breath and say some crazy shit. Hey guys, we're still live here. That's because we're having technical difficulties. You can go ahead and tune the fuck out anytime. You know, you don't got to pay attention to us no more. Honestly, if I can see a picture of myself where I'm talking, I could stare at that fucking thing all goddamn day. I don't need an audience to look at myself. I don't think Joey does either. He has been modeling this entire time. Dan left. Dan's back.
Yeah, I'm trying
Sue's
to
back.